Hey guys, Bartel's Bookshelf here with sort of a different video. My friends Nakia at Plot Twist and Laura thought it would be a fun idea if we put together something that we're calling the Books of Fate Challenge. So basically, it's sort of an interesting way, I think, to get out of a reading rut, to sort of challenge yourself to find something that you would never sort of come across normally. So how we decided to structure it was that we had a wheel that we spun that would choose a genre or a section for us to go look in, like horror, fantasy, young adult, whatever. And then we would roll for a letter, and that would be the last name of the author that we would have to look up. And then we would roll a third time for a random number, and then we would have to pick the book on the shelf with that letter that matched that number. So, for example, horror, the letter C, and book 15. And so we went to Half Price Books today, and we did that. And I'm going to talk about what fate chose for me. Like I said, we just thought this would be an interesting way to sort of get out of your reading rut, to sort of challenge yourself to find something new that you would never pick up ordinarily, just for the hell of it, just to see like what you came up with. And Nakia is going to be doing her own video, which I will link to whenever it's put up. But so today I'm just going to talk about what I got today. So the first of the three books, we decided to do 3 books each. So the first of the 3 books was in the literature section. It is Painting Mona Lisa by Jeanne Kalogridis. Never heard of this before, never heard of this author, but it sounds interesting. It's basically historical fiction about sort of fictionalized circumstances around the painting of Da Vinci's famous Mona Lisa painting. It takes place in 1478. Giuliano de' Medici, brother of Lorenzo the Magnificent, the head of the powerful Florentine Medici family, is assassinated. 10 years later, a young Lisa Gherardini listens to the story of Giuliano's death, unaware of the significance it holds for her future. Drawn into the Medici circle by her passion for the arts, Lisa falls in love with Giuliano the Younger, but when the couple are forced apart, she finds comfort with the Medici's most luminescent friend, Da Vinci. Against the turbulent backdrop of Savonarola's Florence, the two become conspirators and eventually each other's saviors in this parallel love story of infinite twists. So it sounds really interesting. It's sort of a historical fiction, but it seems like there's a bit of intrigue, some twists and turns, a bit of a thriller vibe to it, which seems really interesting. It's a big, chunky book. It's about 565 pages, so it seems like a pretty big, expansive story. I like historical fiction. I like sort of books that take actual historical events as a jumping-off point and sort of theorize about, like, not necessarily what did happen, but sort of like a possibility of, like, you know, it's sort of like a fun, made-up explanation for this, like, famous piece of art. I like that sort of stuff. Girl with the Pearl Earring by Tracy Chevalier is another one that I enjoyed in a similar genre. So I'm looking forward to that. That seems like a lot of fun. The second book I found in the YA section, although I think this is more like middle grade than YA, but this is by The Great Horn Spoon by Sid Fleischman. This is apparently a Gold Rush adventure. And Sid Fleischman is a Newbery Award-winning author. Again, never heard of him, never heard of this book. But it says, young Jack sets out from Boston with his stuffy but trusty butler, Praiseworthy, stowing away in a large ship bound for California. Leaving an aunt and 2 sisters behind, Jack is on a mission to save the family home by striking it rich in the gold rush. Along the way, they encounter a colorful cast of sailors, miners, outlaws, and varmints. Will Jack and Praiseworthy hit pay dirt? Find out in this newly illustrated edition of a classic adventure. So I guess this is sort of a classic children's book. This is a reprint that came out in 2013. Interesting. I like the cover art. It's got sort of that, like, 1800s vibe to it. When was this originally published? Let me check. 1963, so it's a bit of an older one. But the cool thing about it is that it's illustrated. Yeah, each chapter has a little illustration. and there's illustrations on the end papers as well. So, not the kind of thing I would normally read, probably. Again, I probably would have never picked this up unless it was for this challenge. But there was a woman in the section where I grabbed this who asked me, "Oh, hey, is this what you picked up?" And she held up another copy of it, and I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Oh, it's actually really good. It's really funny and fun." So, yeah, I don't know. It seems interesting. Like I said, never heard of it before, but it's apparently a children's classic, Newbery Award-winning author, historical adventure type stuff. I enjoy that kind of thing, so I don't know. We'll see how that is. Seems interesting. And then finally, I have The Night Ocean by Paul Lafarge, which I picked up in the literature section, just like the other, the Mona Lisa book. Now, this was a complete surprise, and it actually turned out to be kind of a fortuitous find, because this story is actually about H.P. Lovecraft. So it says, Marina Willett, M.D., has a problem. Her husband, Charlie, has become obsessed with the horror writer H.P. Lovecraft, and in particular with the events of the summer of 1934, when the reclusive Lovecraft lived for 2 months with a young fan named Robert Barlow and his family in Central Florida. Lovecraft was 43 that summer, and Barlow was 16. What were the two of them up to, and what did they feel for each other? Just when Charlie thinks that he's solved the puzzle, a scandal erupts, and he disappears. The police call it a suicide, but Marina doesn't believe them. As Marina follows her husband's trail in an attempt to learn the truth, the Night Ocean moves across the decades and along the length of the continent, from a remote Ontario town through New York and Lovecraft's native Providence to Mexico City. Along the way, we meet Lovecraft and Barlow, who went on to become a well-known authority on the civilization of the Aztecs, the Futurians, a group of brilliant young science fiction writers, William S. Burroughs, Roy Cohn, and L.C. Spinks, a kindly Canadian appliance salesman, and the only person who knows the origins of the Erotonomicon, which may be the intimate diary of Lovecraft himself. So again, sort of a historical fiction, exploring a real event in the history of an artist's or a creative person's life, and sort of theorizing about what may have happened. Based on that synopsis, it sounds like there may be some sort of erotic elements, perhaps some homoerotic elements, I don't know, but that sounds really, really interesting. And again, I would have never heard of this, I would have never picked it up unless I had done this challenge, and that cover is awesome, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, that again, like that's what I really wanted to sort of emphasize with this challenge. I feel like as readers, we can kind of get stuck in ruts, and we can kind of just read the same stuff over and over again, which is nice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a comfort zone. We all have that, you know. But I think it's important as readers to sort of challenge ourselves every once in a while and to kind of step outside of our comfort zones, and I think this is a good way to do that. So if any of you out there in BookTube or just in general want to do this, like I said, you can use a dice roller, you can use a spinning wheel app, which is what Nakia used. But yeah, the order is you roll for genre or section, you roll for the last letter of the author's name, or the first letter of the author's last name, and then you roll for the number of books on the shelf. So I hope it would be cool if this took off as a challenge. I don't know if it will, but it would be interesting if it does to see what other people get in their rolls. And so yeah, and I hope this inspires other people to sort of think about what they're reading, and to maybe sort of challenge themselves to kind of step outside of their comfort zones a little bit, because again, you never know what you might find, you know? I mean, I found this historical fiction novel about Lovecraft. That sounds like really, really interesting. It sounds like something I would want to read, and I never would have found it if I hadn't have done this. So that's kind of what I wanted to emphasize by doing this challenge. So I hope all of you out there get something out of it, and I hope you all enjoy it. And I'll talk to you guys later. All right, this has been Bartell's Bookshelf, signing off. Bye.